Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Educated Colonist Snap Channel. How you doing? So today I'm going to be doing a DC Dual Force official overview. I've played it once before, but finally they've released it into the open beta, and I wanted to just kind of give my thoughts and suggestions about it now that it's an open beta. Just things I would look into and just my feelings after playing the game. So overall, right, let's get right into it. My first thoughts is that the game has potential. So I think the base game is fun. I think there's lots of deck variety, but I do think it's missing important features that need to be in the game already. And then there's still game-ending bugs, just game-breaking bugs that make things look a little bit weird. But overall, do you think if you're just looking, the game is fun. Like the game's fun, but it still has some things I think they need to work on. So first things first, I do want to talk about the monetization structure. I think if you're gonna play a new game, this is something you need to know. So essentially, they have two currencies. There's coins, and then there's gems. So you use coins to get booster packs, and coins are the free-to-play method, and gems are just the premium currency that you have to pay for. So essentially, 2,000 coins will give you a booster pack, and 150 gems will give you another a booster pack as well. So they translate to $1 is 100 gems. So you're essentially paying 150 for a booster pack. However, if you buy in bulk, you end up paying like 115, which is a little bit better, but that's the idea of the monetization structure. So it is pretty much you do have to pay if you want to get a lot of things quickly, but there is the coin currency that you can generate. Now they've changed things. It used to be 2,000 coins you could get by playing per day. Now it's 5,000, which is a lot better. And then so it's a nice increase. You can get around 2 free packs per day. And then gems are only obtainable with money. There's no free to play way to get gems. Sometimes gems will be in like a battle pass or anything like that. But right now the battle pass will also give you a free card pack per day. So you can get like 3 or so packs per day. But I do want to showcase this mini set here. So this mini set is just a set of cards that you can buy, but there's no free to play currency. You can't use your coins to buy this. So I really don't like that personally. I think the mini set should be obtainable free to play. I will say you can craft the cards. So there is a way to get it, but it involves crafting. But crafting isn't in the game right now, so I can't really mention that as a way to get this cards. If you want to get these cards right now, you need to pay. So theoretically, once crafting is available, you'll be able to craft these cards. So that'll be your free to play way. But still, right now, you can't get it free to play. So I do have some issues with that. Now, let's talk about the base game. I do think the base game is fun. And if you are a comic book lover, I think this is a game you will very much enjoy. I had a good time playing the game, played multiple times, and I can see the appeal of playing a DC collectible card game. So it was fun. There's a lot of good strategies. I think I got to make the type of deck I like to play, which is very controlled, very slow, very reactive, kind of like a blue deck in Magic. Like that's me. And I was able to do that with this, which I was kind of surprised because it takes a lot of like pieces to make that work. But with the leader feature, with the and just the deck building, I was able to make it work, as well as playing against tons of aggressive decks and still doing pretty well. I will say I had everything, so this is something that might be contentious in that some content creators got to keep their beta accounts. Essentially they got to keep their accounts, and those accounts had everything. So there are some content creators that did get to keep everything, and they get to play the base game, at least with all the cards, all the cosmetics, all that stuff. I can definitely see the where some people might be jaded, like, oh wow, I didn't get everything. But the content creators are what's promoting the game. Let's be honest. Right? Yeah, it's kind of a niche archetype, right? The card games, and they're trying to keep the content creators interested. And if you have to, spend a lot of resources and stuff like that, you'll get a lot less content creators wanting to review the game. and stuff like that. So and these content creators showed interest initially. Like if you are trying to join the content creator section now, like you're not going to get all the cards. So these are people that initially showed interest, and they're just kind of rewarding them for their interest and their efforts. So I mean, I think you can still be a little bit disappointed or sad because you're going to be playing against these people sometimes. Obviously, there's an MMR system, so if you are struggling, you'll be in a lower MMR and maybe you won't play into them. But still, competitive players, right? You're going to fight them for sure. So this is something to keep in mind. So I just want to mention that there. But that's a tangent. Base game's fun. Do you think it has some unique aspects that you're not going to see in other card games? And I'll say that's the comic book mode and then the mana system. As well as maybe the leader system is also pretty unique, but I feel like that's kind of like Commander, in my opinion. So I was like, maybe it's not that unique. But I do think the single player mode is an interesting experience. So it kind of goes through the comic book stories. It uses the comic book art style. If you're a big comic book fan, you like the DC Comics, I think you're going to have a lot of fun there. So that's something I think that stands on its own, and some players will find a lot of enjoyment in that, right? So that's something unique. You can't really get that in a lot of stuff. Like maybe Hearthstone has like their, I mean, it's not the same, right? So, and the mana system is also pretty unique, where you're limited to playing 2 cards per turn, where you get 2 resources. You can use those resources for any quality of its kind or lower. So gold resources can you summon gold cards or lower. Silver resources can summon silver cards or lower. Right, that really limits how many actions you're able to do. Right, you can do 2 or so, but you have your leaders and you can generate resources and stuff like that. So you can do more than 2 actions per turn, but it is pretty limiting in that a lot of other card games just give you resources and then it hits a cap. Once you hit the cap, then you could spam, right? You can just summon tons of things. Can't really do that. Let's say your opponent has like 7 cards in their hand. Well, you don't care because they can only play 2. So that's something I think is pretty interesting and pretty unique. So I would say there's some unique aspects to the game, but I wouldn't say that the game itself is necessarily unique. There's a lot of card games that kind of have the same structure. This is just some unique aspects that I wanted to talk about. I do think the leaders are cool. I do also think they need more leaders. But I like how it works. I like how they can change your deck, change your whole playstyle. There's definitely decks that run because you have a leader, and decks that don't run because you have a leader. So it's actually like quite important in terms of like what leaders you're picking and how you're playing the game based on the leaders you have. And I think that's really cool. Where you could take a deck and then switch out the leader and be like, oh well, this runs here. So I think that's pretty cool. Do you think they need more leaders? There's like maybe 3 leaders per faction, and it's not enough, honestly. Obviously, they're going to add more leaders, but right now it just feels like, oh, you could do more if we had more variety. I also think there needs to be like an omni, like a leader that's multi-class or all the classes or something, like just to add more variability. There's a lot to do. I think the leader is a cool aspect of the game, and there definitely could be explored more. I also think the cosmetics are pretty great. So we play Marvel Snap here, and the cosmetics are okay in Snap, right? But it could use some work, in my opinion. I think the cosmetics have stuff to be aside. I think the cosmetics in here are pretty good. There's a lot of the emotes are animated. They work well. The card backs are pretty cool. There's new art for the leaders and whatnot. So definitely was enjoying using the emotes, enjoying some of the other cosmetics and stuff like that. So I definitely think there's something there for them, and just a plus here. Now I want to talk about the card game in relation to Marvel Snap, right? Since DC and Marvel are often compared, there's lots of comparisons like, oh, this game is similar to Snap in this way, this game's similar. No, it's not. Like, this game and Marvel Snap are not very similar. They just have like similar IPs that people compare, but they played very differently. Where Marvel Snap is pretty quick, pretty snappy. You get in, your decks are small, and you just play these short games and move on. This is more similar to Hearthstone, where you have to build your deck and then play it out. Games can be much longer, a lot of decisions. It's back and forth, not like at the same time with Snap. So I would very much compare this to a game of Hearthstone, maybe a game of Magic. No, more a game of Hearthstone than any other game. So that's something to keep in mind and to be aware of. If you're here for Marvel Snap and you're trying to say, oh, maybe DC Dual Force will replace that itch, it won't, right? It's a different itch. It's a different game. So just keep that in mind if you're going to try this game out. Don't come in expecting it to be Marvel Snap. Come in expecting it to be something like Hearthstone, and then I think you'll be more aware of like, oh yeah, this is very similar in that way. Next, I want to talk about was the Battle Pass. Just thoughts on it. So I just think it's similar to other Battle Passes. You get 10 cards per month, which is going to be it's going to be beneficial. It'll be cheaper to buy the Battle Pass than to buy straight packs, as well as it's giving you other comic adventures. It's giving you promo cards. It's giving you extra rewards. So it's going to be way better to buy the Battle Pass than to buy straight cards. So I think that's good. It's good if you like the game. It's $10 a month, which is the same as Marvel Snap. It's the same as a lot of other Battle Passes. The $10 seems to be something they have made a consensus on in the card game community, developers or so. So, yeah, generally seems fine to me. It's not available now, which I think is a shame because it would help to kind of see how much value the pass is if you were to see the premium Battle Pass, which they don't have available or anything like that. But the idea of it seems correct. So I don't really have too much of a problem with it. And then here I'm going to talk about some of the issues I think I've seen in the game. First of all, is balance issues. I'm not really too surprised about balance issues. It's not usual for games in beta. It's just so hard to play test everything and then have the general community playtest for you and then figure out everything that's broken. Like Snap does that too. So there's definitely some problems. I would say, like, just off the top of my head, Batman, Wonder Woman, Powerful Synergy. This is also due to just they're available for free-to-play players, so a lot of people are playing it, but it's constant and it's strong, so it's something to be aware of. Some bronze cards just win the game, which I think is super weird. Like Superman can just win you the game, and some of the other bronze cards, they just, like, if they live or if you can set up, they just win you the game. I think Alfred for Batman is so strong. I think it's so strong, but it's like no one's talking about it. But yeah, I mean, but Batman's OP, but regardless. But yeah, there's some bronze cards that are just so strong. The leaders are not balanced. There are just some really, really, really good heroes, leaders, and then some really bad ones. So definitely think the leaders need to be more equalized, make you feel like they're all the decision. Whereas sometimes for some factions, it's like these heroes work and then these don't touch, right? So definitely think that could be worked. And then I think my faction overall is just overtuned. The shield is too frequent on all their cards. All their cards have shield, and then some of their effects with shields are just broken. Like Shield Girl is like crazy. You get the shield back every time. It's like, why? Why is it like this? Anyways, whatever. This is not a big issue. It's just like, yeah, there's some balance to be there. Some core features are missing, which I think is extremely important. Like crafting. Crafting is so important in this game. Like any game like this, you got to add the crafting. It should be in the game already, in my opinion. Just allows people to get the cards they want and make the decks they feel like without having to struggle too hard. So definitely think that needs to be done. The premium Battle Pass and the Battle Pass rewards not available. Also think they should be in the game already. Like if you're having people spend, you want them to spend on the most efficient way, and the Battle Pass is the most efficient way, but it's not available. So the people that want to spend have to spend somewhat inefficiently, which I think is just not great. And then the comic adventures are not released. So this is supposed to be, I think, like a weekly release where people are getting new solo adventures to play that go through comics, and they give you rewards, right? They give you coins, they give you cards. So that should also be in the game, I feel. Obviously, that one takes a lot of work, but that kind of stuff, those are core features of the game, right? What's pulling people into the game. So those should be in there. So I just think it's something that I noticed while playing, like, these things were missing. Of course, there's no mobile client. Lots of people play games through mobile, so just a large amount of potential players missing. I started Marvel Snap all mobile before I really committed and started, streaming and playing it more. So if it wasn't on mobile, I don't know if I would be playing as much or even playing at all. So just gotta have a mobile client these days. It's quite important. So it's just something I've noticed. And then there's just some performance issues. Don't really feel like the game runs optimally. So this is just something I feel like I have a pretty good computer, and my PC starts, humming every time I play the game, which is like, oh, okay. And it's not like there's like crazy animations in this game for it to make sense to me. So I just feel like there's maybe some performance issues somewhere that could be optimized. So that's just something to look into, see if it could be improved. As well as there's bugs still apparent. So I personally had 2 bugs while I was playing. One was more annoying, I would say. Well, I mean, I guess they were both annoying, but one, I couldn't end my turn manually, so I had to always wait for the timer to run out, which made the game a lot slower once it appeared, and it didn't leave, like it just continued for the rest of the game. And then the second one was the dark side effect bug, where if I killed users affected KO enemy recruit and destroy their space. If there was a leader behind there, I couldn't attack that leader. So it was just kind of like, oh, that leader is just free to do whatever it wants, and that was also kind of annoying. And also some of the viewers, some players, they've also mentioned other bugs. So it's not like these are the only bugs that are in the game. It's just like those are the ones I saw, and obviously more. So that's something that always could be improved. And there's kind of a lack of polish. This was kind of vague, in my opinion, but I feel like it needs to be said. Like, you could tell me this game came out 5 years ago, and I wouldn't like argue. I would just be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's the feel I get of this game, where there's kind of a lack of smoothness, lack of tightness, and some of the movements, some of the buttons, and you dragging your cards and stuff like that. There's just a lack of tightness to it, lack of smoothness to it. So obviously, like, it's a little bit vague, but I feel like people are going to agree here, and it's just something that could be improved. Obviously, this is kind of hard to improve because I feel like you have to change, like, mess with the programming from the ground up to make it feel more smooth. But it's something that I wanted to mention in there, just make sure that I addressed it, right? And then those are some of my benefits, some of the issues I had. And I had some suggestions, just little things to make the game feel better, make more people happy, just things like that. So just some suggestions. So first thing is just focusing on the missing features. Obviously, you guys came back from San Diego Comic-Con, so obviously you guys are chilling over there. But I think got to work on the crafting. I think crafting by far is the most important thing to add in the game, and then also just the premium battle pass, and the battle track rewards. I think those need to be in the game. It's really hard to judge how things will be if we don't know what the crafting looks like, right? Like, that's a big deal. We don't know what the premium battle pass rewards look like, and that's a big deal. Right? And then just the comic adventures. That one I think takes a lot of work, and it's consistent work you have to do every time you make. So that one's not like, oh, you've made crafting, bam, it's in the game, right? Well, it's not like that, but like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, the feature is done. Premium battle pass feature is done. You just have to change it monthly. Comic adventures you have to work on consistently, make it engaging, make it fun. So that one I give a small pass, but it's a big draw of the game, right? That people care about. So I'd still be working on that. So that's just something to focus on. Obviously, the bugs and stuff need to be addressed as well, but just get crafting in. Like, I feel like just get crafting in is basically what I'm saying. Next thing I would say is change the reward structure. So right now in the game, it's 100 coins per win. I think that's too. It causes some problems, right? Where you force players to have to win to get progression. First of all, you are encouraging players to only play super try-hard meta decks, and right now you're seeing the results of that. It's non-stop Black Batman and Wonder Woman, just non-stop. And that's really not something you want to encourage. Like, oh yeah, you have to play these because you need to win. And another thing is that players that can't win, don't know how to win. They're just not good enough players, or the players they're playing against are too strong. They're just getting no progression, right? They might play 10 games, win 2 games, and get 200 coins. Like it's not reasonable. So I think you need to just change it where maybe you'll get 100 coins whether you win or lose, and you'll get the 200 coins on a win. And obviously, you might want to have like a turn 3 minimum or something like that, where they have to play a couple turns before it starts kicking in. But still, you kind of want to encourage people that are losing to still get something, right? You can't be spending hours playing and getting no progression. Like, it's like, what is that? Other thing I would do is add gold limits for AI fights. So if you play an AI, I would also make AIs not the default, right? This is like something as well. Right? That playing against players should be the default, and you have to click into AI. But I would add a gold limit so you can farm gold through AI fights. Right now, there's 5,000 gold limit, so I would just put 2,000 as a gold limit for AI fights, because there's just some players that want to test their decks, or they just can't win in PvP, but you don't want to prevent them from getting any resources. So I would just say, hey, you can get your first pack through AI if you need to, and then you can see if you can test out your deck in PvP, that kind of thing. So I think that would help some players. Obviously, like it doesn't bother me. I'm not doing this, but but I think some players could take advantage of this and at least feel like, okay, even if PvP is too hard, at least I can get some progression somewhere through the AI fights. So that's something I would do. And then final suggestion, I would just allow a way for gems to be obtainable free to play. So there's just some players that are either unwilling or too young, usually, to be able to afford any purchases for money. And I don't like that the mini sets are just completely locked out for free to play players. There's currently not any way to get them, no matter how long you play. I think trading time for resources should just always be something that's available in the game. If you want premium resources, as long as you spend your time in the game, enjoy the game, you can get anything you need, right? So I would just find a way to allow gems to be obtainable free to play through some method. There's got to be some method to do it. So just so that, let's say you're a young person, you want to play competitively, you're looking at the mini sets, you're like, oh, I can't get them, but you're thinking, okay, as long as I play this or do well here or blah blah blah, I can get the mini set and I can get all the cards that I need. So that's just something I would just add in, because when I played the game, right, I started playing games at a young age where I couldn't get all the cards, but I would play games that allowed me to find a way to get there, right? Like if I could do it, then I would find a way. So it's just something I always think about. So that's something I would add. And those are my suggestions. That's my thoughts on the game. Think the game's fun. If you like Hearthstone type games, there's a lot aspects of it that are pretty interesting and have a lot of deepness to it. So that's my thoughts on the game. What are your guys' thoughts? Hope you guys enjoyed this. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Educated calling snap. Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you tomorrow, snap. Your skills will be improving. How you doing? You'll hit infinity and won't go back. Educated calling snap.
DC.